Malaysia's absolute poverty rate jumped to 5.6% in 2019 after the government revised the national poverty line income to 2,208 ringgit per household per month versus 980 ringgit previously. That works out to 405,441 poor households across the country. Previously, Malaysia reported an absolute poverty rate of just 0.4% in 2016, based on a methodology set in 2005. Chief Statistician Dr Muhyiddin says, if the 2016 rate were to be calculated based on the new threshold, then it would be revised from 0.4% to 7.6%. Absolute poverty is a condition where household income is not enough to meet basic needs, such as food, shelter and housing. As for hardcore poverty, where household income is less than half of the 2,208 ringgit threshold, the latest stats show that the rate stands at 0.4% as of last year. Meanwhile, with regards to the median monthly income, the Statistics Department says half of Malaysia's households earned less than 5,873 ringgit last year, a 3.9% improvement from 2016, while average household income improved by 4.2% to 7,901 ringgit. However, the income gap as measured by the Gini coefficient continues to expand, up by 0.008 index points to 0.407 in 2019. The score for disposable income increased from 0.391 to 0.393. A score of 0 represents perfect equality and 1 absolute inequality. Malaysia's economy, as measured by GDP, could have contracted sharply by over 10% in the second quarter of 2020 from a year earlier. This is according to analysts after they took into account the substantial year-on-year decline in the nation's industrial output of 32% in April and 22.1% in May due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Malaysia's economic growth moderated to 0.7% in the first quarter. Yesterday, the Statistics Department said in a statement that the Industrial Production Index tumbled 22.1% in May due to the significant decline in all three components of the index. The department said the manufacturing component fell by 23.2%, mining segment by 22.2%, and electricity by 10.3%. Affin Hwang Investment Bank said in a note today that the full negative impact of Malaysia's movement control order has been reflected in the nation's second quarter real GDP growth. Its economic research team pointed out that growth in IPI was down by an average of 27% year-on-year in April to May, sharply lower than 0.4% in the first quarter of the year. For the whole of 2020, Affin Hwang maintained its real GDP growth forecast of negative 3.5%, lower than the official forecast range of negative 2.0% to 0.5%. Tun Dr Mahathir Mohamad says he, together with 5 former Bersatu members aligned with him, will again propose a motion of no confidence against Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin at the upcoming second Parliament session that is expected to convene next week. He also opposes any attempt to replace the House Speaker. The former PM says he still stands by his decision to support Parti Warisan Sabah President Datuk Sri Muhammad Shafie Apdal as the country's next Prime Minister candidate. He adds that although the Pakatan Harapan Presidential Council had named Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim as its PM candidate, it does not represent the choice of Bersatu or Warisan. The Kuala Lumpur High Court has dismissed the MACC's 3 million ringgit forfeiture suit against IT firm AGA Touch Malaysia. The anti-graft agency had frozen AGA Touch's bank account in 2018 in an effort to recover the funds allegedly linked to 1MDB. However, the High Court ruled that the prosecution failed to prove the money in the IT company's bank account was from unlawful sources. Judge Muhammad Jamil Hussain said the evidence showed many transactions involving AGA Touch's bank account, including for services rendered to UMNO, based on invoices exhibited during the proceedings. But there was no evidence that the 3 million ringgit in the accounts came from former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Razak. The prosecution will be filing an appeal to the Court of Appeal. In the meantime, AGA Touch will be seeking the immediate release of its funds. In a separate court, Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali dismissed the prosecution's bid to postpone the return of 1.15 million ringgit seized by the MACC from Kedah UMNO and Habib Jewels. He said there was no evidence of any special circumstances to justify a stay. MyHSR Corporation has reappointed Datuk Muhammad Noor Ismail Kamal as its Chief Executive Officer effective today. This confirms a story by The Edge yesterday, quoting sources that Muhammad Noor Ismail is expected to return to helm the company. MyHSR is Putrajaya's project delivery vehicle for the proposed Kuala Lumpur-Singapore high-speed rail. The project was suspended in mid-2018. However, as The Edge Malaysia Weekly reported in May, sources from various industries believe it will be revived soon, though it appears to have been scaled down.